So today is More Money Monday. It is May 20th, and we are talking about updates to IntelliAgent and the forms that are going to be required when we're using the new forms for the buyer, broker, agency, and compensation agreement. That the BCBRs, I think is what they're calling it. And that's going to be added to IntelliAgent along with the companion documents that I talked about last week. That compensation advisory will be in there. And then going along with this buyer broker representation agreement, there are a couple of paragraphs that refer to other CAR forms. One of them is the notice of broker involved properties, and it's been around since 2022. And then the other one is the anticipated broker compensation disclosure, also from 2022. These were done in December of 2022. California has more different ways to disclose agency than any other state, which is not surprising, but it's also it's a bit frustrating because there are so many ways to do it. You don't want to do it wrong, and you also don't want to miss something. So I just wanted to point out a couple of different ways. What are the questions that came from compliance about how to upload broker compensation agreements into IntelliAgent going forward? One is with that new buyer representation and broker compensation agreement, which is the new buyer broker agency agreement. And on that, there are two forms. If you want to take a look at it, I'm just going to reference it, and then you can take a look at this going down the road. On this BRBC, under paragraph 4, it says compensation to broker, and there are various ways of doing this. I think I can get it on screen for you. Give me a second, because I was fighting with my printer. Yes. All right, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. See if we can get this going here. Where's the Zoom? Oh, Brad. Brad is the picture that I see. So I know where you are. Okay. The share screen keeps being obstructed. Okay. So this is the buyer representation agreement that we are talking about. And it has forms that were older forms from CAR, right? 2021, the agency disclosure hasn't changed. I do like that they always put the year on here so you know which version you're dealing with. But these are the most recent iterations of the form. So these are the ones you're going to need. These all come together as part of this buyer representation bundle now, and I know you all know how to use those forms. What's coming, which I really love, is that we're going to have an agency section where you can put in just your side of these forms when you establish agency, and then these forms will have a line item under contract, which is when they're fully executed. Right now, I know that's an issue because we only upload the fully executed document, and it's very frustrating because it gets declined all the time. Okay, so under this buyer representation and broker compensation, if you take a look, oh my heavens, give me a moment, my bad. Taking a look at this form, you can see there's various options that you can use to do the brokerage compensation. So under paragraph 4, if you're just doing buyer agency like we normally do, then it's going to be number 1. 4A1, and you're just going to put the percent of your commission, whatever you negotiate with your client. Can you all see this?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I have it on 2 different windows, so I want to make sure you can see what I see. Okay, so this is what I see right here, where that blue section is. These are other ways to get compensated, right? Number 1 is your regular brokerage compensation agreement percentage. The second is a flat fee, and the third is pursuant to a compensation schedule that's attached. So maybe you have a for sale by owner, and this is where it gets a little dicey because how do you mark that, right? So 4A3 probably would work. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you can also see under D where it says payments to broker by others. This could be where a seller pays commission directly to you. And this is new that I hadn't really looked at before. Under D3, I'm going to highlight it and see if I can here. with my touch. It's not working now. Awesome. It says you can actually authorize to include commission in the offer, which normally hadn't happened before. So now it automatically, unless you check the box, it's going to allow you to authorize you to include the commission in the offer. Normally it was negotiated pre-offer, right? Through that broker compensation agreement. But now it says buyer authorizes the broker to include a term in the buyer's offer obligating the seller to pay the broker directly or through escrow for any compensation that the buyer owes the broker. So now if you have for sale by owner, that kind of catches that issue. So you don't have to worry about a separate agreement, okay? The other thing is on F, this is still paragraph 4, F tells you also under number 2 there that the broker independently or through escrow will disclose a final compensation the broker receives from anyone other than the buyer. So everybody's going to see that. And the buyer is responsible for paying the compensation if the third party doesn't pay as anticipated. So you really need to make sure your buyer understands what they're signing so that expectations can be set and met and managed. All of the things, because you want to have a good relationship with your clients, you really need to know what's in these documents. Does that make sense to you guys? Any questions on that? Awesome. Okay. You can see that some of these are pre-checked as they were before. But I want you to see, let me go up here because it does reference some other forms in here. All right. Under F, do you see at the bottom of the page here, 4F? There we go. Now it's making it highlighted for us. Okay. So again, disclosure of anticipated payments to the broker by others. After you write an offer on a property, you will disclose the amount of compensation that we expect to receive from that third party on that property by providing the buyer with, you have some choices. You need to give the buyer either a copy of the MLS listing showing the cooperating broker compensation offered for however more long that exists, or 2, a separate document such as anticipated broker compensation disclosure, which they named ABCD. Because why not? So there's some actions that you need to make sure that you take. Again, just disclosing everything so that buyers understand the obligation and who's paying for what. Okay. Now, sometimes there's a cancellation of representation. Yes, sometimes it happens. And so under C, which is I think paragraph 3C, this part right here, either the buyer or the broker can cancel an agreement by giving written notice, which is always the same. The agreement shall be terminated if this happens. You get notice of receipt, and then you have 30 days, whatever you've agreed on, for getting compensation from things you showed them. But take a look at this. It says buyer acquires if any time specified in 4E, which is down here, the additional broker right to compensation, this section down here. Same form. You see this NBIP? That's a whole other thing. I've actually never looked at it. So I included it with the email I sent out to you today because this is going to be how you get compensated. You need to give the buyer the notice of broker, let me give you the name of it. Notice of broker involved properties. So anything that you showed your buyer, it's not just sending them a list of list of homes on the MLS, but anything that you've done that is up on top of that, like analyzing the property for the buyer, showing the property to the buyer, anything like that. So broker involved properties, take a look at that. Because you're going to now need to furnish that to your buyer if there is a cancellation of representation. Okay, so be careful about that. It says the written list of the broker involvement properties shall be delivered to the buyer within 5 calendar days after the effective date. Before, during, and after the 5-day period, buyers advised to notify any other broker of buyer's rights, right? So if there's a change in representation, like Zillow is doing, where they do a 7-day buyer agency, something along those lines, the buyers also has a duty as well, right? So there's some things in this these new documents that you really need to read through and make sure you understand how to use them. I have for you, let me pull it up here. Here's this notice of broker involved properties. Can you see this? I want to make sure you can still see the new form. Thank you, Brad. Okay, so this one is being provided to you by as requested by this new buyer representation and broker compensation agreement. So you have the period there and then the compensation. Any other broker involved properties means things that you entered, showed, gave a breakdown, anything that is on top of just giving them a list of homes that shows that you were actually involved in helping that buyer. So this could also work with for sale by owners. You can also see, it says if checked, see the attached list of broker involved properties. So you can also disclose, keep a record of what properties you're showing your buyer. Every time you go out, you need to probably start recording which properties. So there's some more work for us to do as far as documentation to make sure that everybody's expectations are met. And it says if the buyer intends to enter into another buyer representation agreement with another broker, they're advised to provide this notice to that broker, because failure to do so may obligate the buyer to pay 2 commissions, which they don't want to do, right? And you don't ever want to put your buyer in that situation because you know they're not going to want to pay it, right? They're just going to be like, social media blow you up. I hate this agent. They're so terrible, la, 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 so unprofessional. You don't want that reputation. So you really need to be careful. Brad's over there shaking his head. So this has been around since 2022 and I've never used it, honestly. I haven't had a buyer cancel, but because we're entering a new kind of process with buyer representation, I feel like we really should be on top of these forms. You need to be aware of how they work and then when they're going to be needed. So I want to show you the anticipated broker compensation disclosure. Doesn't that sound fun? Again, another way to disclose agency and what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to skip this over. I don't think you can see my screen share, so give me a second. Okay. Here's the other one I wanted you to see because, again, this is part of the buyer representation agreement. It's also referenced in their form ABCD. So this would be one, again, for sale by owner or something like that, that says, hey, we're anticipating getting paid. Isn't this fun? All these ways you can say, buyer, you're going to owe me money. Here's how. So you need to really be on top of it and then, make sure that they understand how representation works. Okay. This is interesting because it says compensation will be paid pursuant to MLS offer or a cooperating broker compensation agreement or other source, which could now be the BCBA, which is that new buyer compensation and buyer representation broker compensation agreement, or for sale by owner, right? It's directly through escrow. So there are a lot of ways, and I feel like I kind of need a quick reference guide, honestly, of if this, then that, right? I haven't seen that from CAR yet, but I feel like we're going to need something that says, when this happens, you need this form and this form, right? I'm working on that with the state broker, BrokerKrista, right now. So this form is going to be in the custom documents section. We're not requiring this. We're not requiring the anticipated broker compensation or the notice of broker involved properties right now. And the CBC, this cooperating broker compensation agreement, may be a bit outdated because it was from 2022, and this new buyer representation agreement also covers broker compensation, just like I showed you. There's 3 different places where it shows that you have agency and compensation. But this form is still active, still usable. So it says buyer acknowledges and has read and understands and received a copy of this broker compensation disclosure. And then below that you can see, let me see if I can scroll. I can't, give me a second. I think because I'm screen sharing, I can't get down on the form, but you can see it says this section is to be filled out when the property is being shown or when an offer is being made. So this is for specific properties. This could be something that you could use, kind of like that Zillow disclosure. That Zillow disclosure is proprietary to Zillow. I don't think we can just rip off and duplicate it. I don't recommend that because Fathom hasn't approved it, right? So if you stick to these CAR forms, you're going to be in good shape. That's why I want you to see them and kind of know what's on there, okay? Does anybody want to chime in on what they're seeing if you used any of these forms?
Yeah, I think I also haven't received your email. Normally I receive your email, but I haven't received this one.
That's so weird. I sent it this morning around 9:30, 10 o'clock, somewhere in there. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
didn't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I get all your emails except this one. So,
I've heard some problems with Fathom and their email systems last couple weeks.
Yes, there's some issues with the system that they're using, the platform, which is why I can't send out SMSs right now. So, I will just say go into Zip Forms and take a look, right? I've already showed you what they look like. I can put the forms in the chat as far as their title.
I would just add to that, just use that to invest in yourselves and take the time to really read through them and get familiar with filling them out. Start doing some test cases, XYZ buyer or John Doe buyer, and just start filling them out. And, because it's going to be much easier to do it now than it will be when you are actually under the gun.
Yeah, you never want to do this at the beginning in front of a client. You need to fill it out and read it. Like I said, that's why I wanted you to see this stuff today, because by tomorrow, this new form is going to be an IntelliAgent, and that's what we're going to be working off of. So, be familiar with it and how to use these other two forms when the case happens. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to close my chat here. Okay, any other questions on what's cooking here? There's going to be, like I said, some significant upgrades to IntelliAgent. They are supposed to be live tomorrow. So dive into IntelliAgent and take a look around, because I'm super excited. It's going to make paperwork so much easier, because now everything you sign when you have a listing or when you do buyer broker agency, it's all going to be under the agency section. All those forms that we normally fill out that are not fully executed, but executed by our side, now have somewhere to go.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. Okay, is there any questions about what's coming down the pipeline? Hey. How many of you have taken the what is it? It's the ABR course that NAR is offering for free. Mine is like the first week of June. Has anybody?
I think they're pushing out to like September, October now if you sign up for it now.
Also request to have it on demand. If you do the live class, then they make you sign up for, like you said, September, October right now, but you can request the recorded version.
Yeah, but I heard correct me if I'm wrong, but from feedback I've gotten from other people, you definitely want to do the live one, or live webinar, if you will, because I guess they have a self-paced one, and that one is out of date.
Oh, bummer.
Now, not to say it won't be updated, but that was the last feedback I heard.
I haven't heard that it's out of date. It would be odd that they offer it if it's out of date.
Nah, I don't know. I haven't been through it personally, but that's just what I heard.
Yeah, interesting. But again, California is its own special animal. We have forms other people don't, which is why it's taken a bit to get this all through compliance. Because I had to send 5 different forms today, and I said, which one do you want? In what case are we using this? And the way they decide what to upload is what's going to be required for pretty much every transaction without any kind of exception, right? If there's an exemption, they don't want to add it in the required documents section. That's why these other couple of side documents that are listed aren't required yet, because it's not for every transaction. I don't know how common they will become once we have this required buyer broker agreement in place. And there will be some cancellations and, for sale by owners, of course, that's always happening. But the notice of broker involved properties, never used it, but I think I'm going to have to, So I just wanted you to be aware so you can go read them. I sent them out, Brad, just so you know. Both of these 2 forms I sent out this morning with that email. So check your spam, see if it happened to land in a spam. Just whitelist fathomrealty.com and hopefully that will solve your problem. On my end, it says Team Sacramento at Fathom Realty. That's the distribution list that these all come from, all my emails to you. So just whitelist that. Okay. Any other hot seat questions? Brad, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything new in the lending world we should know?
No, nothing new. Just same song and dance right now.
Okay. So right now in Compass Lending, do they still have the first 5 client
Yeah,
thing?
$1,000.
Yeah, so it's $1,000. What is that useful for? What can they use it for?
Towards buyers' closing costs.
Okay. And then they also have an appraisal thing. What's that one?
And then the appraisal is essentially a promo. So if it doesn't fall into that first 5, or let's say it's a refinance, then we can apply the appraisal where we reimburse the buyer their fee for the appraisal.
Okay. I'm gonna scroll into our orientation slide deck for a second because I want to highlight. Let me see if I can make this work from current slide. Okay. There's a couple of things that Encompass Lending does that I want you to be aware of, and I want you to make sure you're taking advantage of all this stuff. Okay, so this technology, if you don't know what all of these things do, please take a minute to go through them, especially the Marketing Center, the David Knox training, and the Fathom Academy. The My Single Property websites and the Go Social Agent are free to you. If you haven't set that up, please do that. And then we're going to go through this slide deck real quick because I wanted to get to Oh, you know what? I bet it's higher up actually, Brad. All right. Everyone close your eyes. All right. Here's what Encompass Lending offers. There's a ton of stuff, and I have this in our agent orientation slide deck. This is what you see when you come to orientation. Brad, I know you've shared this already. What the clients can get with partnering with you. Do you want to just do a quick rundown on some of this stuff?
Of course. So the 3-year loyalty program is essentially a joint marketing. So when they close with us, they also close with you, which essentially then is a monthly touch, postcards, recipes, basically a full marketing campaign so that you're on the forefront of your clients' minds for 3 years with us. The milestone updates is essentially, texts and pings, emails, essentially notifications of the file's progress along the path of closure. So when underwriting approves the loan, you'll get a ping, although usually you get a call from me as well. But that's largely in part because some loan officers or managers don't do that. So at least we have the pings in place accordingly. But to me, loan approval, docs out, those are key elements to ask for the business to bring in more, because that's the times that they are the happiest. And that's also good for you guys to also embrace into that and ask for the business as well. SnapDocs, it's a hybrid closing, which is proprietary. Can't talk today. Proprietary to Encompass Lending. It's not a full e-title signature signing process, but it is a hybrid. So essentially what happens is that 90% of the docs go to the borrower via PDF, at which they can kind of browse through and sign those accordingly. So that way, when they actually get to the closing table, whether it's a table funding or a dry funding like California, in most cases, they are only really signing the important documents, the note and the deed of trust under notary. So it makes the signing much faster, and it also gives the clients peace of mind, being able to see the docs ahead of time. Hometown Heroes is our proprietary program where they can receive additional credits, not only from us, which is a total of up to $1,250, but also then a percentage of your commission at the close as well towards their closings or their closing costs. And those people that qualify for that are your first responders, as well as any vets, medical field, doctors, nurses, and then your city and county workers, as well as education. So pretty broad spectrum of what defines a hometown hero. And actually, as a matter of fact, Krista, I was just talking to Joseph about we need to do another training on that.
Yep. Nonprofits too, right, Brad?
And nonprofits, yeah.
Which is
And so actually, I've got a couple dates for next week if you're interested. If that's too soon, then I'll get some more pushed out further.
no, let's do it next week. I know next week is a holiday week, but well, even Monday's a holiday. But what
Monday's the holiday, yeah. But they've got opening for Wednesday or Thursday.
Let's do Thursday because that's generally when we have our meetings anyhow. What's
Okay.
the time?
1 p.m. if that works.
Yeah. Let's do
Okay.
it.
I'll so just FYI too for you, Krista, Jim Reed is no longer affiliated with the Hometown Heroes. He's still with Encompass Lending, but now everything's running through Mark Milestone or Livingstone.
Oh, okay. Great.
So just in case you reach out to him for any reason, but I'll get with Mark and I will solidify that with our crew.
Yeah, because we want to make sure that you're our point of contact. I don't want to confuse people and have them sign up and be guided elsewhere. So I want to make sure you stay
So
on
if you're not certified yet or you haven't done a training, then please jump on board on that. And Chris will send the details. I'll get the link on that this week.
Thank you. That would be
Of
super
course.
helpful. Send it to me and I'll send it out. And
Yep.
hopefully-
And then the other stuff is, essentially marketing, which, we have marketing portal. The Visa program, it runs through Real Results. And essentially, if you had a database and then, we were co-working that database, you would pay, if you went directly through that program, you would pay, I think it's like $500 or something like that. Whereas if you're working with us directly, then we can get that waived for you. And then, of course, we will cover half of the transaction coordinator fee for your closings.
which is super nice. I mean, nobody.
Hey,
else-
every little penny helps,
That's right. And no one else does that, honestly.
Right.
Okay. I also included this just because I wanted our agents to see that it's not just, residential financing. It's a lot of different things, including non-QM loans, DSCR loans, primary, secondary, investment properties, all of the things.
Yep.
You do HELOCs, right?
Yes.
We're going to have a conversation.
Yep. Not a problem.
Good. Okay. And then that's it, right? So I just wanted to share that because there's so much value that Brad brings to the table, and I want you to make sure you understand what that is so you can connect with Brad and get going. So your clients can take advantage of all of that. All right. Thank you, Brad, for doing that.
Of course. Always here to help.
Yep. Super cool. Does anybody else have any questions for Brad? Nope. Okay. It's a quiet day. So Melissa and Cheryl are kind of newer to Fathom. They work together. So I don't know if you've had a chance to chat with either of them. But I think their contact info is in the chat. And we know Massa's here also. She's amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys go. We are at 12:30, so we did
Right on point.
an hour of all the things, and I appreciate you guys taking the time. So I'll send out this recording, and I will see what I can do about setting up an alternate email until such time as our email seems to be working. So for now, I don't.
Yeah, or maybe we just try to confirm each other. So if I see something, I'll just let you know received.
Yeah.
Maybe that will help also.
Yeah. Okay, but this is a standing meeting link. If you have it, keep it. Put it in your calendar. You just plan to be here unless you get an email from me saying we're not. then
Sounds
we'll-
good.
Okay. All right, you guys have a super
All right,
great
everybody.
week. If you need anything from me, just shoot me a text. I'm happy to chat, and same for Brad. Thank you so much, Brad, for all the things
course.
you guys do.
Have a
Bye,
good
guys.
week.
All right.
Have a good
Bye.
week.
Bye, guys.